So egalitarianism, it's treating people uniquely, not equally, particularly minority groups. So it's design inspired by minority groups such as people with disabilities, non-English speakers, underprivileged people, or we can often call them low socioeconomic, low SES. They deserve product system and environments designed and produced to ensure that their needs are met so that they can access the things in society the same way that other people do. And they need to be accessible both in affordability and practicality. Here's an example. So Ballet Black is a really great egalitarianism example. It is a new company. So Ballet Black, why don't we just have a quick look? Actually, I want to show you.
Actually, it's one of the few factories filling a critical role in the changing world of ballet. Why? Because these point shoes are made specifically for brown-skinned ballerinas. Ballet Black, a dance company composed of diverse dancers, and Freed, a ballet shoe manufacturer in the UK, are working together to flip diversity numbers on their heads, from the dancers themselves to the shoes on their feet. Give us a spin! In 2015, Misty Copeland became the first African-American prima ballerina in the American Ballet Theatre. But not just there. You see, she's the first in any major international company. Period. So it's no surprise that beige nude shoes have become the industry standard.
Ballet Black is a London-based company.
So, yeah, they're a really good example because as we can see that even though Black and Asian ballerinas may be a minority in the ballet world, their current designs, which were the pink, the current ballet design, the shoe design, it left them at a disadvantage. And so they weren't able to access what they needed to access at the same easeability is not a word, the same ease, whatever, as white people. And so they're at a disadvantage. So therefore, we have an influence for design. So egalitarianism, designing for minority groups. Dot watch is, oh my gosh, my favorite one. So dot watch is perfect for an example because it is a Braille smartwatch. It's just like an Apple Watch. Yes, you do need to have an iPhone, but think about this, guys. As soon as, I think the last phone I had that was maybe had buttons on it was maybe my BlackBerry that I had when I was at uni. But after that, we went to touch screen. And the moment that the world, or at least our society, transitioned away from phones with buttons and went to smartphones with touch screens, that moment, every blind person was left behind. Because all of a sudden, they can't access the technology like we can because they can't feel it. And you can say, oh, well, they can use Siri. And yeah, but that's not accessing it at the same level. That's embarrassing. What if you're sending like a bitchy text to someone and you can only read it if you let Siri read it out loud and you're on a train or a bus and someone's having a rant? Like, that's so not accessed. Just because you can use Siri doesn't mean that you can access it at the same level as everyone else. However, Dot does. So it's and I love how it's like an aesthetic, subtle design. It's not really obvious, so it's not creating that further marginalization that we're not allowed to do or we're not supposed to do. So it literally, like, yeah, if my friend was blind, I would just text her like her mobile number, but it would come to her on her Braille watch, and she, like, there's all these little clickies around the side, and then yeah, literally these little dots come up and down, and she can read my text message in Braille. And then she can maneuver things to then send the message back to me in Braille, but it will come to me as my text message on my phone. And it allows you to access lots of other apps as well, like weather, time, and all these sort of other things, and alarms. So yeah, it's really, it's providing a bridge so that the blind can access smart technology along with the rest of society. So yeah, really good one. And I would definitely recommend watching a little quick YouTube video on Dot that shows, what they used to use. And yeah, I really recommend that one as an example. Also, different technologies that are being used for minority groups, which is perfect egalitarianism examples. So you might have seen the articles recently where famous art, particularly Mona Lisa and stuff like that, are utilizing 3D printing technology to bring art to life for the blind, because the blind have never been able to participate or appreciate art ever. It's just been a total thing that they've just never been a part of and never have been able to. But now they can, if we make it 3D, and they can actually feel all the brush strokes and everything. All of a sudden they can appreciate art. And if you watch the video on it, they even say that, you know, they can often appreciate it somewhat better than we might be able to, because they actually feel every detail of the painting, whereas we look at it and we miss things. But they're really taking it all in because they're feeling every detail. So I think that's kind of cool. Anyway, so that's egalitarianism. I'm going to move on to social conscience. Social conscience is a really, really good one, and it relates to so many exam questions because you often get asked about ethical decisions of designers, you know, things that designers need to consider and their impact, and that you can bring in social conscience in that. So social conscience is about your sense of right and wrong. And so it's got a lot to do with a designer understanding what society's perception is, but also considering their own moral and ethical viewpoints. So depending on an individual's social, environmental, and political persuasion, so basically what they give a crap about and what they don't, they're going to support different things. So sometimes a whole societal or community groups will have like a really strong moral or ethical opposition to something. So cloning is a perfect example that you can use as a technology that's you know, been in development for a long time now, but is, you know, can really do great things or sort of really be successfully done now. And depending on what we really believe is right or wrong about it, that can impact on how successful it will be. So designers really need to be aware and consider the ethicality of their design, and it may mean not releasing certain products in certain countries, because some countries, depending on their like traditional, ethical, religious requirements, they might totally oppose that product because of religious or cultural practices. And so you can't just assume it's going to be successful everywhere, because every society has like different moral or ethical persuasions. A perfect example there is like a menstrual cup. In our society, this is something that's sort of growing in popularity, on trend here in Australia and in Western countries because of the environmental trends. And so, you know, so many people are jumping on the, what can I do? I want everything I need to, I want to try to do everything in my life that's reusable. I don't want to do anything single use. Well, swapping to a menstrual cup is going to allow you to not use all those tampons and pads and everything like that. However, what countries might this be a total failure in? Or countries where you're not actually allowed to use tampons because you're not allowed to put things up there, like a lot of Middle Eastern countries or highly religious countries, or even communities with strong Christian values and things like that. That's not going to be successful there, because they literally, you know, they place a higher moral value on the act of what you need to do with the product versus the benefit to the environment. Whereas a lot of people here would be like, well, I don't have an issue with using it. My moral compass is more about the environment and not polluting the planet. So that shows two different perspectives of what is more important on their social conscience. Anyway, dog cloning. If you can watch the 60 minutes, I recommend you all watch the 60 minutes. It goes for 10 minutes. It's called 60 Minutes Jurassic Bark, and it goes all into how you can now clone your dog. And this factory is a place in Korea that's doing all these dog cloning, and huge ethical questions are coming up. Yes, your dog dies, you have to freeze it, you take the DNA out from its flesh, you send it to Korea. Korea makes these embryos and implants them into all these surrogate dogs. So they've got all these poor dogs that live in the lab, all these female dogs. Usually they have to cut open multiple dogs. They implant multiple embryos of your dog's DNA in all of these surrogate dogs in the hope that one or two survive the whole pregnancy and birth. And yeah, it can all cost up to like $135,000. And then you get back this dog that it's not even the dog you lost. It's got the same DNA, but it's just like twins. Twins have the same DNA and they don't have the same personality, and they're not the same person. It's very, very hedonistic, extremely hedonistic, because it's not even the same dog. So it's not even really doing what you think it's doing, which is keeping your dog alive, and it's not doing that. And then, what about the ethics with all of those poor surrogates? And if you watch the clip, you'll see all these other things that they're doing now, like they're cloning all these beagles and they're giving them human diabetes so they can test the disease. There's just so many ethical, social conscience questions there in the use of that technology. And I think, yeah, that would be a perfect thing to bring up in an analyze question or a discuss question. Then you've got these leather options. So Muskin, I would definitely look up Muskin and watch a little video clip on Muskin on YouTube. It is vegan leather. It is leather that is actually mushroom. It's mushroom that grows into like a hide, flat hide, as opposed to a mushroom like that. It grows like that, and it can mimic leather perfectly, and you can create all sorts of different clothes and stuff. There's also cork leather. Cork comes from a particular type of oak tree, and it's actually the outer layer of bark, so you don't have to cut the tree down or anything. So it's perfectly ethical. Oh, why did that go down? Anyway, so yeah, different types of leathers that are vegan are really good, a good social conscience thing to consider. This is the motto that I'd like you to try to remember for social conscience. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And that's kind of a shortened version of a quote that came from the first Jurassic Park movie, where Jeff Goldblum, anyway, he went in there and they were all talking about this whole, oh my gosh, like we're going to have this and this and this dinosaur and da da da. And he was just like, guys, your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should. And that is really the whole thing about social conscience and ethical. We have all these technological abilities now. But just because we're doing what technology allows, does that mean it's right? Just because we can do something doesn't mean it's actually the right thing to do, or doesn't mean that it's not going to cause harm or pain to other living things or ecosystems, or, what are the implications down the line of this? And is it really right? Just because we can do it doesn't mean it's something that we need to or should be doing. So yeah, that's what social conscience is all about. Thank You is a really good example of a brand that's kind of born of social conscience, like Daniel and Dylan, or whatever their name is. Justine, the girl, it was all about trying to help minority groups. So it relates to egalitarianism as well, and it's hedonism as well, actually, because we get the nice product, so that's our hedonistic desire, but it's a win-win because we buy the soap, and then rural Nepal gets a maternity clinic from the support of us. All the profits go to hygiene and sanitation programs, maternity clinics, providing water and clean drinking water in areas that don't have any. So yeah, if you scan the barcode on any Thank You product, you will see where your purchased, what that helped to fund, or what that's helping to fund. So yeah, it's a good brand example because it's not really about the product itself. It's about what the whole product line helps to do and helps to change. Okay, social class. I might just do that in just another one.